Greetings, survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here with your weekly serving of rusty nutrients, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's coming next. But do you remember back in the mists of time last week when I said, and as an aside, a drawbridge would be a fantastic new wall frame insert if you ask me, hint hint nudge nudge? Well, it's Hack Week this week and there's some interesting stuff in there, I'll just say. But first, over on the Orxo 2 branch right now, the next big things are taking shape, and the first shape is one of a hopper. A revolutionary new device that's never been seen in a survival game in anyone's Steam library, at least not mine. Craft this, put it on a large box, power it up, and the idea is that it'll attempt to slurp up anything dropped in about a foundation's radius around it. Of course, everything is subject to change and subject to range, so don't get hung up about anything you see here, but the hopper is currently a workbench level 1 item, costing 20 scrap to research and 100 frags to craft. It doesn't seem to have been added to the tech tree yet, but I'll explain why I think that is shortly. This is where the threshold appears to be at the moment, which as you can see is exactly one foundation from the centre of the hopper. Anything dropped beyond that stays on the floor. The most important thing to remember is it works on line of sight for any building components. So it will be blocked by floors and walls, including low and half walls and floor grills it seems, but if it can see something over the top of the wall, it will be pulled in. Doors and window shutters block line of sight, but it'll pull stuff through the openings, and window bars don't stop it. Interestingly too, it will pull things through an armoured door hatch, even player corpses, but I'll get to that in a second. Netting, chain link, and prison cell wall inserts will all let stuff be pulled through, and it seems that deployables won't block the hopper, so it'll pull stuff through furnaces, workbenches, and lockers, for instance. This does also mean that it will pull things through vending machines. Really, anything that drops within range that it's allowed to see is fair game, and as mentioned, this includes corpses, both player and animal, and the nice thing is that it will butcher and sort all said corpses into their component parts, including named skulls, and store them neatly for you to enjoy later. It does work with backpacks too, and it'll separate out the contents when it does so. And let's not forget the most important thing: poo! I think it's safe to say this will be one of the most game-changing IO components for a long time, as it has so many use cases: trap bases, farms, gear saving, dump rooms, and just all-round general floor drobe enablement. Stuff just keeps getting more and more convenient, doesn't it? Eventually we'll just walk into our bases and a Dyson ball cleaner will shoot out the wall and strip searchers for loot. Will any of the details I've mentioned change before this arrives in next month's patch? Probably, and I think you know why, but please let me know your thoughts on this and what you'll be using it for in the comments below. New planters and benches next, but first, you're only human. Also I'm told, and therefore you crave two things: power and the bargains. And what's the best value to power ratio you can get? That's right, your very own Rust server with Pine hosting. And with Pine, everything is so easy to manage, like changing game modes when you find out Primitive actually sucks. Not that it does. That's just a joke, of course. Within seconds, you can load a custom map, turn off AI, set server tags and wipe schedules, and let everyone have hundreds of sleeping bags. Plus, you get 1,700 free plugins that can all be turned on and off with a single click. There really is no pain with Pine. They'll even help you migrate your server from somewhere else for free, leaving you with all the energy you need to deal with the fantastic player base. With high-performance, affordable servers all over the world, any casted DDoS protection, and support for many other games apart from Rust if you need it, they are your one-stop shop for server hosting, and right now, you can get 30% off a new server with code SHADOWFRAX. What are you waiting for? The other shape taking shape on the Orxo 2 branch right now is triangular, because triangle planters are also going to be coming in next month, and I believe there will be a railroad version as well. They come under the banner of the large planter blueprint, and unsurprisingly they fit nicely on a triangle foundation, snapping to the centre. For capacity they can fit 4 plants, so just slightly better than a small planter, and that's really about all you can say about them. But a welcome addition, I'm sure you'll agree. There's also apparently a single plant pot planter thing coming that'll hold a single plant. Now, I mentioned that the hopper wasn't on the tech tree yet, and that's probably because another new item coming next month will be the IO workbench, which you can see here. And I've gone over this before, but to recap, in a nutshell, IO components are being stripped out into their own tech tree, and therefore bench, for 2 reasons. Firstly, to be out of the way of those who aren't bothered with them, and secondly, for those who are bothered, to be able to concentrate on, if they want, with a dedicated bench. It looks like next month's update, if it all goes to plan, will be catering to Cooking 2.0. Obviously, the hoppers and planters will play a part, but there will also be changes coming in for fridges to require power, and food will start to spoil over time. There's going to be a rebalance to all foods, I'm told, and a load of new ones. As mentioned recently, there will be the introduction of chicken coops, along with, of course, eggs. And there's a lot of buzz in the commits currently about bees. From the commits, what I can surmise is that beehives will spawn in trees and can be harvested for honeycomb, but there will also be a nucleus which can be used to create your own hive at home. It'll be possible to cook honeycomb in a furnace to make jars of honey, and there will also be swarms that can attack players. Players being harassed by a swarm will be able to either get into water or pour water over themselves to get the bees to leave them be. Word on the street is there also might be a bee grenade in the works, but more on that when I get it. And there will be another new bench for cooking, which will let you combine foods to create things like bread and, unbelievably, at least 8 varieties of pie. I think this is the year I can finally retire. I just can't believe it. We get pies in Rust before GTA 6. Warming and cooling teas are also in the works, and there's also a cosmetic flowers branch which will include growable roses, orchids and sunflowers. I'm sure that will be top priority for the average Rust player. It looks like we'll also be getting armor slots next month, as mentioned previously, with special wood, lead and asbestos inserts to give extra protection, plus item ownerships coming back, and we'll tell you which player crafted something, for instance, but it won't be as complex as the XP system and will only really be for education purposes. There were a number of hotfixes applied since the primitive update to fix things about which you can read here, including not allowing propane bombs to be placed underwater and wrong item amounts being crafted in Quickcraft. Nothing heavy. But as mentioned at the start, this week is also another hack week, which means the team are allowed to undo the special straps binding them to their desks and work on whatever they jolly well feel like, and they really are going for it this time. So to go over some of the many projects that may or may not ever see the light of day, Tom started work on bunk beds and a sticky bomb and blackboards, which could help with raid planning, I guess. There's an idea for a handcar that could be player crafted and used on rails, allowing you to travel around the network under your own steam. There's a branch called Visual Loot, which I assume is for loot spawning as individual items visible in the world instead of always in containers. And this is something that goes way back. In fact, for years now, there's been an item spawnable called Visual Shelves Test, which was trying to do this very thing. There's a project for letting you name electrical branches, which could be handy for keeping track of complex systems. There's a drone grenades branch, which suggests adding a grenade inventory to drones that they can then drop onto people from great heights. Paddy's working on a friendly gestures branch after the success of the crude gestures one, which actually had all the crude gestures taken out of it in the end. But this includes, at the moment, peace, love hearts, and camera frame, as you can see here. Plus there's mention of a chef's kiss, which would be well timed for the cooking update, if it happens. Lewis is working on a CCTV doorbell. There's a pogo stick branch now, which would see you leaning to change direction as you bounce, and could be an interesting raid tool, I guess, if it happened. And yes, not taking any credit for this, I'm sure the team came up with it all by themselves, but further to my suggestion last week, the drawbridge from the siege tower is being reworked into a wall frame insert, and I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but the plan might be to allow it to extend as well. Yes, it's an extender. There's a lot of stuff going on besides possible new items though, with Hack Week branches also dealing with modding improvements, which could allow adjustments to things like player speed and entity scaling, plus some more boring internal stuff including automated testing and memory optimization. Of course, some, all, or none of these might eventually make it in-game. We'll have to wait and see, but please let me know which ones you'd like to happen in the comments below. Right, you are up to date and I'll give you more Rusty Nuggets next week, so stay tuned. Leave a like and a sub and a comment below, follow me on all my socials, and if you'd like, you can support my efforts here via YouTube memberships and Patreon. Links are all below. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio. We get pies in Rust before GTA 6.